Affinity Group, IEEE Education Society, and in collaboration with Crafitti Consulting Private Limited, Bangalore. Myself, Dr. Maina A.N., Associate Professor and Head, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Naukis College of Engineering, Hassan, will be the host for this evening. Writing is an art and is a part of our work for most of us, be it technical or creative writing. Sometimes all we need is a little bit of inspiration to ignite our creative passion for this. And this 2 days workshop is one such attempt where we can draw inspiration for writing. The objectives of the workshop are to learn the joy of writing, to learn to express your thoughts and ideas in written form, to maximize the potential reach of your thoughts and ideas, to connect with your minds and hearts of your readers, and to build your leadership trait for credible capability to communicate with creative coherence. I request all the participants to stay muted for the smooth conduction of the event. Let me now give an introduction about IEEE Mysore Sub Section. IEEE Mysore Sub Section installation, one of the 3 subsections of IEEE Bangalore section. The aim of IEEE Mysore Sub Section is to conduct various student and professional activities like invited talks, student internships, workshops, and flagship conferences. IEEE Mysore Sub Section consists of Mysuru, Mandya, Hassan, Chamarajnagar, and Kodagu districts. This section has 26 engineering colleges with 14 IEEE student branches and more than 1,000 IEEE members. IEEE Mysore subsection will enhance the professional networking, humanitarian activities, and staying updated with latest technological developments. IEEE Mysore subsection recently hosted IEEE conference IEEE International Conference MysoreCon 2021 at Naukis College of Engineering, Hassan. Let me now introduce you to IEEE Women in Engineering Bangalore section. IEEE Women in Engineering is one of the largest international professional organizations dedicated to promoting women engineers and scientists, inspiring girls around the world to follow their academic interests in a career in engineering. The IEEE Women in Engineering initiative has been established to promote achievements of women professionals in fields of interest to IEEE. WIE promotes membership growth and elevation of its members. Also, WIE gathers and disseminates information on the status of women in technology and science. WIE Affinity Group Bangalore section would like to emphasize and enhance activities towards professional and technical excellence of WIE members. To improve the efficiency of WIE activities, multiple subsections are formed and aim to streamline the activities, giving prominence to the student branches to motivate and inspire their participation. Today, we have with us some of the eminent personalities who will guide us through this session. We have with us Dr. Bindu A. Thomas, moderator for this workshop, Dr. Anandi Giridharan, the session chair, Dr. Shiva Reddy, the panelist, and the program designer and facilitator for this workshop, Mr. Navneet Bhushan, founder, director, and co-crafter at Crafitti Consulting Private Limited. So without further delay, let's begin the event. I would firstly like to introduce the moderator, Dr. Bindu A. Thomas. Dr. Bindu is a professor and head of the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering at Vidya Vikas Institute of Engineering and Technology, Mysore. She has over 24 years of teaching and research experience. Dr. Bindu has published over 85 peer-reviewed research publications and has received several awards and recognitions, including Best Paper Awards and Champion at a project competition at IISc Bangalore. She has won IEEE Women in Engineering Achievers Award in the year 2020. She is currently serving as the chair IEEE Mysore subsection. I would request Dr. Bindu to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Professor Maina. It's my privilege to actually deliver the welcome address, and I'm honored that we are here today with the most eminent speaker for the day, Mr. Navneet Bhushan, who is the founder director of Co-Crafter and at the Crafitti Consulting Private Limited. And I have a very, I cannot talk about his credentials in few words. So I'd be requesting Dr. Maina to give us more input on his credentials. We're very privileged, and I take this opportunity to welcome you wholeheartedly to this workshop, sir. Thank you so much. We also have with us Professor Anandi Giridharan, who is the chair and um, who's the chair of the Women in Engineering Affinity Group of the Bangalore section. Ma'am has taken out time and she collaborated with us for this workshop. Thank you so much, ma'am. She's a professor at IISc in the EC department. We also have Dr. Shiva Reddy sir, who is who's been a mentor to us as we started off with IEEE, and he's very eminent in terms of his teaching career and his experience in IEEE. A very senior professor in the EC department at Reva University. He's currently serving as the chair of the IEEE Education Society. And I thank you, sir, for collaborating with IEEE Mysore Sub Section and this event of Joy of Writing. We welcome you to this workshop. I'm also honored to welcome all the participants who have joined back after the day one and back with us with all their write-ups and discussion points that would make today's event, today's evening, a very wholesome and resourceful one. I welcome everybody once again. I also see the presence of Dr. Parmeshachari, the chair-elect of IEEE Mysore Sub Section. Welcome you, Professor. Thank you for joining us. Yeah. So welcome all the wonderful dignitaries and eminent experienced people and the students who have joined us today. Hope you have a wonderful learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bindu, for that welcome address. I welcome you to this session. I would next like to introduce the session chair, Dr. Anandi Giridharan. Dr. Anandi Giridharan is working as a principal research scientist in the Department of Electronics and Communications Engineering at the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. She has more than 30 years of experience in research and academics. She has published several research articles in peer-reviewed journals and conferences of repute. She is a senior member of various IEEE societies and currently serves as chair for IEEE WIE Affinity Group Bangalore section. I would request Dr. Anandi to tell us more about this event.
Maina, you can proceed, I think. Ma'am will join us.
Yeah.
I mean, she
Thank
will
you very much, Dr. Bindu, and I congratulate Mysore subsection for organizing such a wonderful event workshop. And yesterday was such a nice introduction to the joy of writing. And today we are very honored to have the speaker with us. Thank you, everyone, and all the best for this event today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to introduce Dr. R. Venkata Shiva Reddy. Dr. Venkata Shiva Reddy is a professor in the School of Electronics and Communication Engineering at Reva Institute of Technology and Management, Bangalore. He has over 30 years of teaching experience with research publications in over 30 journals. He is currently serving as the chair of the IEEE Education Society, Bangalore section. It's my privilege to introduce today's facilitator, Mr. Navneet Bhushan, to the audience. Navneet Bhushan is the founder director of Crafitti Consulting, an innovation strategy and intellectual property research consulting and training firm headquartered at Bangalore, India, completed 13 years of successful operations in May 2021. He is a member of Board of School of National Security Studies, Central University, Gujarat, IET Future Tech Panel Open, Digital Innovation Think Tank, and advisor to deep technology companies such as Aclevis Tech. Over a career spanning more than 3 decades, Navneet has held positions such as Vice President and Head Innovation with Hexaware Technologies, Principal Consultant with Wipro Technologies, CEO of CREAX Information Technologies Private Limited, Technology Specialist at Philips Global Intellectual Property and Standards Division, and Senior Research Associate with Infosys Technologies. Before joining the corporate world, Navneet worked as a scientist at Defense Research and Development Organization DRDO for more than a decade. He has authored more than 65 technical research papers and is an invited speaker at various international and national conferences. He has been interviewed on in Indian national television as a patent expert and on All India Radio as an innovation expert. He is the principal author of Strategic Decision Making Applying the Analytic Hierarchy Process, which is published by Springer Verlag UK as part of the Decision Engineering series. This book has been featured at the Harvard Business School Working Knowledge for Business Leaders. Navneet has been conferred the Entrepreneurial Innovation and Leadership Award for the year 2012. Navneet holds a postgraduate diploma in IPR law from NLSIU, Bangalore, diploma patent information from the Netherlands, MTech in computer science and engineering from IIT Madras, MSc in software science from Allahabad University, BSc honors in physics from Delhi University. It's an honor and privilege to listen to you, sir. Now we shall start with the session. I request the participants to drop their doubts in the chat box, which will be taken up soon after the completion of the presenter's talk. Also, a link will be provided in the chat box for your valuable feedback. I would now request Mr. Navneet Bhushan to take over the session.
Okay, thank you. Am I audible? I think I was on mute.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, thank you. So yesterday we had a very interesting session, and hope as we thought some people would have continued from yesterday. And of course, being a Sunday, we also always see this reduction in number of participants. But having said that, it is really my what shall I say, a joy to welcome you back to the second day, because I think there was some continuity from yesterday, and we divided these into two parts so that we have some sort of a assignment, so to say, before, I mean, during the day. Of course, it is not easy for everyone to get into writing and also sending, but I have received two write-ups. So it is really, what shall I say, a joy for me to participate in this joy of writing and seeing some enthusiasm in this. I must thank all of you and all organizers, also the, I mean, people who are on the in the panel right now, and also organizing this at the back end and also working, because I know this happened in a very quick time, and I must thank Dr. Bindu for doing this almost, as I said yesterday. I think within 4 or 5 days she organized this, and must say this is very, very quick, and also very happy to share the experience. Yesterday we had interesting questions. So what I would suggest and would like to do is use that as a base and maybe continue from there, and also use those two write-ups that I received on whatever specific writings that we have, and also use it as a base for our discussion, and also see how those can be developed, and a little bit in terms of the type of writing that we would look at, right? So first I will just share my presentation screen, and hopefully it should work. Please let me know if you can see this.
Yes, sir. We can see it.
Okay, is it visible?
It's
The
visible,
presentation?
sir. It's
Okay,
visible.
good. Thank you. Okay, first let me. I'll just minimize the screen, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So my, I mean, I must. I don't have enough words to thank the organizers, Dr. Bindu Thomas and Madam Anandi Giridharan, who was chairing this session and also yesterday, because as I said, it is really very quick and very happy to see so much of participation, especially yesterday. Hopefully today also we will people to join us. Hello? 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 Is there a question? Someone is asking a question. Okay. Shall I continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I intend to do is little bit to use the yesterday's discussion and also some questions that we had in the later part, and use this as the basis and try to answer those questions also, and also give you a little bit more in terms of the little nuts and bolts, so to say, of what are the specific paths that we need to take once we have the initial spark, so to say, or initial draft of what we would have written. And then maybe today I would request more discussion, maybe at the end of this thing. And so that yesterday, I think time for discussion was less. So maybe we'll have more this time. But I mean, we'll have some continuity from yesterday so that we have uh, at least a flow, so to say, of this, right? Of course, I intend to do more focused on two type of writing today, because the write-ups that I got actually indicates two different types of writing. So very nicely, I think it connects with these two type of writing. One is called the so-called reflective writing. How do we reflect about our life, also to say, or even what is happening? And it's more about internal to us, more thinking and more feeling about what our mind is going through, and how do we react to it, and how do we capture those reactions, right? So that is the first type of writing, which is more or less reflective typing and or reflective writing, and it is also indicative of our internal being, so to say, and our internal understanding of the world. Second one, very interestingly, used that idea template or idea journal template that we shared. And interestingly, it is some sort of an inventive idea is there in that. So second is, how do we take that inventive idea or proposed inventive idea to its logical conclusions towards a potential patent, is what I think the second part will be. So these two, I think, the main sort of writing. Of course, initially I thought maybe we'll have a little bit on the on this part also in terms of writing research papers. But then I think, given that the time and also maybe in a future talk, we can have more focus on a very focused research paper writing workshop that can be separate one, I presume. But so these two, I think, are very nice. And what I intend to do is give you a flavor of these flow of these writings, and also taking these as input and sort of covering what could be the possible way when we get stuck in our writing life, so to say, right? Yesterday, what we discussed was that writing the first draft, actually starting the writing part seems to be a bit of a startup problem, so to say, for all of us. And so those two exercises that we did, the specifically writing the first mark and looking at it, and then writing those funny captions for that particular cartoon. or whatever that figure that we had. I think those clearly indicates that there are certain lessons for all of us to learn, and also use that as a following process to improve, and also maybe apply it in such a way so that our writing productivity increases. Couple of questions that we had yesterday, I'll try to answer that today. One, of course, yesterday we had the discussion, but I think I like the question about this, the deadline. When the deadline comes, suddenly a lot of activity, lot of work happens, and only when the deadline is near, we work right on writing. Otherwise, we keep on lingering, and even if we have a lot of time. So in that context, what I would like to share is one case that we did, which I mentioned yesterday. So I have, I think, a couple of slides on what we found as there was a response to the a bid for a IT company in a particular place, and so that is how it happened actually. So that, I think, and then what we proposed for a change so that we can utilize the creative and the continuity of the, I mean, all the different timelines that we have in a manner than we typically do right now, right? Second question was, so the three question was writing the first draft is a challenge. Second is this deadline problem that we have. When the deadline approaches, we suddenly become more clear also, and also we start putting more effort to generate and also write the specific solution and deliver, right? A third one was in that learning environment, when we have this high challenge, high threat environment, rather than the high challenge, low threat, or uh, low challenge, high threat environments, right? Typically, which is what we were discussing. So here a little bit on what we discussed. Maybe we can just broach that subject also. This is, I think, will take some specific time. Then those two assignments, those two write-ups that I got from the audience yesterday, and I must thank both of them for sending the write-ups in written form. We'll share and try to understand the format and also the way it has come. Of course, we are not going to evaluate any particular inputs, particular specifics about that, but just the fact that we got that writings, and also the type of writing that was available, that was generated in this I mean time. I think both of them would have done in the morning, because I received the first one at exactly at 12, but the second one came very late in the evening. So it's a interesting thing that someone, I mean, both of them would have spent some time to write it, right? So I must thank both the participants for sending this. Of course, others would have written, and some of you must have written, and definitely either forgot or thought that it is not conducive for sharing, right? But my request is that even if in the future, if you do share on that WhatsApp, and also we have a Telegram group called Joy of Writing. You can join that Telegram group also if you are on Telegram. Right? So that's maybe later on we'll discuss. So this was our point about yesterday, write a 150 words idea or 150 to 800 words write up, or with pen or paper on paper, and we actually participants write up the first draft, if you may. We got two of them, right? So this is the first one. It is, of course, not very easy to read because of but writing is very nice, and also very clearly readable if you actually see. So I'm going to zoom it later, and also a little bit read this, so that you get a sense of how much flow is there. And there is a feeling of, what shall I say, it is very, when you read the handwritten type of thing, there is a very different type of feeling than a type of one. So this was on sustainable living, living more thoughtfully. So I'm going to read it later, and just give you a flavor of this and also look at what exactly it says. But interestingly, it is about, I think, 2 pages, so must be closer to 800 words. So must thank the sender for doing this job. Second one is actually a an idea using that idea journal template that we gave, and interestingly, the person has clearly given those 30 words or 3 lines for each of those questions. So we actually have a very nice, nicely written idea, which is I somehow not able to understand the auto indosure, I think some second word, but auto relaxation therapy by stress level monitoring. So it explains this particular device, which you can wear as a helmet or as a hooded device, which will actually measure your stress level at a particular point and give you some sort of a relaxation therapy inputs for you to manage your stress level at a particular time of the day. So I will read this. This is more of, I mean, this can become an invention, or it can be a solution to a problem, and potentially can be a patentable invention. So what we will do is we'll go through this process of looking at this input and what happens next type of thing on this journey, which will explain through uh, this through the presentation today. But first one is more interesting in terms of a generic type of writing, right? It is more of what you're feeling, what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and how you're thinking, right? So if you remember yesterday, we did this exercise. Take a paper and just mark something and put a mark on a paper. So this is where, when you are faced with a blank paper, the problem is we are just thinking about how to start. So anyway, just put some mark and write some one line on whatever memory you have, will help you to start the your write up, or start your writing process. But still, we have found there are a lot of problems to generate the first draft. The reason being, as we saw in the funny captions problem, that funny captions exercises also, where we actually said, one of the participants actually said that she was evaluating whether the caption that is coming to her are intelligent or funny enough or not. So the productivity was less. So when you get into evaluation mode, when you are supposed to be writing or generating and actually capturing your thoughts, then this sort of a problem comes, and all of us get through that particular problem, because when we start writing, we think whether it is correct, it is right, it is what should be written in a proper grammar, proper spelling, proper punctuations, proper. Is it proper? Is it correct? So that, I think, needs to be a little bit uh, left for the future, so to say. Just write down is the first instruction. So when you get that, whatever 20 minutes time that you have, or whatever time that you want to use, just get into writing. So first draft is when you should create, is the key message, right? Capture the mind and subconscious. Just be a receiver of those inputs from your mind and keep on flowing it down on the paper. I mean, this looks easy to say, but when you do, it doesn't really happen, because the flow of thoughts gets hampered, because we start looking at various um, issues, various type of evaluation comes in, and it sort of stops the momentum. So here I must also say that we do not really worry about which language we are writing. We write our native language, whatever language the mind is thinking in. Later on, we can look at to convert it into anything else. Now, if so, this was the second exercise that we did. If you remember yesterday, and here was this problem of 7 plus minus 2 things in our mind, and also why this capacity is because of this particular study by Miller in 1956, this particular paper. So what I would sort of as antidote to this particular problem, this is one exercise that is proposed in this process. So yesterday we discussed that if you write for 4 days continuously, 20 minutes per day, and per day, I mean, for 4 days, it increases your and enhances your mood. But writing 20 minutes per day itself seems to be a problem, because out of this 20 minutes, most of the time we will be whiling away and thinking about what to write type of thing. So first problem was writing the starting point, right? So there I would suggest we should simply put at least one line of any memory that we have, put a mark. So the very fact that you have put a mark, or some sort of a mark, some sort of a word that you have put itself will sort of give you a moment, give you some sort of momentum. Second one is the 6-minute write, 6 minutes write. And this 6 minutes writes is basically saying, of course, 20 minutes is too much, but let us start with the 6 minutes. So during the 6 minutes, we are going to time ourselves. If we keep on sort of reducing this or keep on interrupting our writing, that if you find that is your normal problem. So what this method says, keep a timer with you, put this for 6 minutes, do it every day for 5 days, but just keep the 6 minutes timer, keep your uh, paper or notebook with you and start writing. Write whatever comes to your mind. So let your writing flow freely in whatever language, in whatever way. No one else will anyway going to read this. So you are not supposed to share this with anyone. It is your writing, because you are capturing certain inputs from your mind, as it is your first draft, and also this is for you to absorb what you're writing, right? Help you to get a view of your mind. Very interestingly, it is what exactly the subconscious is having as a set of thoughts in your mind. Allow yourselves to write anything more nonsensical, the better. Remember, we discussed yesterday the common sense and uncommon nonsense type of a bifurcation. The uncommon nonsense actually is more artistic, and many times that is where the so-called right brain captures a lot of things which we do not know. That may come out if you do this sort of a writing of instead of trying to make sense of what you're writing, let it flow, let it be nonsensical, let it go through whatever process that it is always correct. So there is no error and no mistake in what you have written, even if there is a spelling mistakes, even if there is a grammar, but as it is correct. So it is correct and perfect, so to say. Okay, so I think you need to accept this as it is perfect. So there is no need for you to sort of study it before it is created. Okay, so you create first, and then we'll see what has come out. So stop after 6 minutes. So 6 minutes seems to be a time that people have found to be a enough period for your mind to get into some flow, and also enough time for you to sort of get some nice amount of information captured, it seems. So 6 minutes, then of course, since you would have flowed and written so much, you have to take some breathing space. One sort of method that we suggest, and I've seen for myself also, you read it after you have written, reflect for a few minutes, and then maybe take a second 6 minutes writing schedule after say 3-4 minutes, and then maybe second one. But more than 3 such 6 minutes will not, I think, be able to sustain. Which I think 6 minutes seems to be a good amount. But in 20-25 minutes approximately, you should do 3 such writing sort of sessions initially. This, if you repeat for a couple of maybe weeks or maybe a couple of months, it will be of use, because later on then you can extend this time for you, right? So this is where I think the key message is to reduce this focus time to 6 minutes and start writing this for in this particular manner. So this will, now this is one particular type of writing which is more closer to us, but it is called what we is known in literature is reflective writing. Now I'll just discuss this reflective writing little bit later on this thing. So we'll just start about yesterday's couple of questions about this conditions for learning, and also about that particular problem of that we defer our maximum activity to closer to the deadline, even if we have more time for us to do the work, right? So this is a switch from the previous context, which was more about reflective writing. I will explain reflective writing later, but we'll just skip to this part because this is, I think, interesting to resolve yesterday's discussion. And what we have just now discussed is that there's two inputs that we got, two write-ups from the participant that we got. One was a reflective type of write-up, this one, and second is more of an inventive type of a write-up, right? So idea, so to say. Now, idea, even if the previous one also is idea, but still a reflective type of thing. Here it is a technical idea, so to say, of creating a system for certain specific type of device that can help us to rectify a particular issue or help us to manage stress better, it seems. So there's definitely there are two different type of writings, and the future of these two notes will also lead to different paths if you develop these further, right? So what I would like to do is develop this later, but first tackle the previous questions that we had yesterday. Now, this so-called uh, deadline problem, so to say, our focus on the deadline. So this is a actual case that we did, I think in 2000, almost 15 years back, I think, maybe 14 years, sorry. Yeah, approximately 2006, I think. So, which is about 15 years back. So this is for a bid, that IT bid for a outsourcing project. And you can see, so if you look at the bid management process that was existing in that company, because when we studied that, how it actually happens. So you can see that there are these links between the client, BDM, business development manager, business manager, and delivery at horizontals that are there. These links that you see as the time progresses, right? So the links that you are seeing, these links that are between various uh, people or various actors, and these links are communication activity that actually happened, right? So there are some, so you can see the client has given certain specific inputs to the business development manager outside India. It is actually in US, and the BDM, business development manager, has sent very specific inputs to the business manager, who is supposed to develop the or respond to this particular bid, so to say, and create a response for a proposal for, right, to send to the client. So there is a specific deadline fixed at this point. So this much time we have. But if you see the amount of work, that amount of communication, amount of actual work that is happening, and there is very little work holistically happening. There's some communication business between business manager and delivery horizontals, but that is very, very flimsy and very, very limited, right? So the amount of work may be happening at the back end at the individual level. So, but none of these people are coming together to create a solution or a think about it. So this is the last days that happened, and last 48 hours, if you see, it is really last day itself actually becomes what we call the the frenzy, so to say. The whole thing was that existing method is some sort of a frenzy, last minute frenzy that happens. And that is where I think a bid becomes a solution or a response. And this is exactly what happens to all of us, especially when we are working in a joint manner with someone or a co-authoring certain papers or certain ideas or inventions that we are going to work with. We have to work with teams to create this solution, or even writing a paper jointly, right? So, or even patent applications also. So in this particular type of scenario, seems to be a natural phenomenon, natural way in which all of us seems to be working across the board. I mean, whether it's a 2% team or 20% team or 2000% team, or whatever be the level of impact of this particular thing, there seems to be, the method seems to be this last minute frenzy, so to say, specifically in this unstructured type of problems where we are supposed to create some creative solution or some solution to the problem. So when we studied this in about 15 years back, we actually said that there are three other possibilities that we can evaluate. And one, we said that since anyway you're going to do everything at the last minute or last day, why to anyway put so much of pressure on the team? Let them do individually, no communication, only the main milestone-based communication that you have, just to, but let everyone do their work independently, or whether it's BDM or BM or delivery horizontals. There's no communication in this, as you can see in the second graph, right? But all of them will come at the last minute only, and they will do their creative frenzy. But this, we call it a very focused frenzy, because then everyone will have to build in some 48 hours this whole response. And this is where you completely focus on this during those 2 days, but you are prepared for the very beginning. That is what is going to happen, right? So this is one way to do our writing also. When we are near a deadline, we actually can sort of bring everything that we have together, build up, and do this mass collective type of a input to our minds or our discussions, and create the artifact at the last minute, because anyway that is how we do. I mean, however, in the first one it is not exactly this. There is a continuous pressure, continuous communication from between each other, which leads to a lot of misunderstandings also, and lot of communication gaps when you come here. And also many mistakes might have been done, right, in this particular problem, and which might continue to be a mistake which gets delivered to the bid. Now, second option, so first one option was that do this focused frenzy, as we call it, because our frenzy is focused, but it is focused at the last minute. Second was that why to do this frenzy? Why can't we have a continuous common operating picture process can be created? So where all these people meet or get some feedback from the client, or work with the BDM and keep on giving milestone-based deliverables very regularly, and so that the final so-called touches are only given to the last minute delivery. So this is a more standardized, more well-planned, very structured type of a so-called textbook type of a possibility, which mostly, if you really see, it remains in textbooks only, right? The actual work when we do it, maybe we would like this to be the case, but it never happens like that. And so the team actually, when we said that we should do this, they rejected it because they said all of us are busy in so many other things. We will not be doing this sort of a thing. Even if we try to do, none of these big guys are available for discussion or for contribution. They will say you do and send it to us, but they are not going to see if you send any in between report, because they're saying it is 45 days ahead, right? This particular delivery. So why should we look at? Why don't you do this? Why don't you think more and maybe generate this at the last minute? So anyway, no one is going to see. Now, so the the fourth option was maybe we can do this anyway. We are happy to do frenzy type of a thing where we actually come together and do this brainstorming. So maybe some sort of a distributed frenzy in time, distributed in time, but then we will continuously creating this common operating picture, but through a distributed so-called frenzy. So when we come, instead of doing this last 2 or 3 days of coming together and writing together, we actually split those frenzy time for meetings in between much earlier for initial brainstorming. And that initial brainstorming will create a specific artifact. It will be housed, we will be housed together in one day. We'll budget that one day and create this first creative frenzy, then second creative frenzy, and maybe the last one will happen when we would have created this. Now, this was more acceptable. Still, this in that particular case, they said we will try, but actually they tried this, but they went back to the first one, which was their normal mode, because I think the people who tried that changed in that group. So that is how the natural way seems to be this. But when you are writing, when you're trying to see whether we can resolve this particular problem that we discussed yesterday, maybe this, the fourth problem, the proposal C, distributed frenzy with continuous common operating picture between two of you who are writing together, or for even for individual also, can be an interesting proposition. So if you have to deliver a paper, say in 2 months, maybe divide those 2 months into very specific three intermediate periods, and actually write the first draft or second draft or third draft in each of these periods, and completely write that draft initially, and then maybe build on the second one, third one, but as if you are writing for your delivery to be 45 days before the actual deadline. Now, this may look odd because you are saying that why to do this early? Anyway, some new information will come and we have to modify. But I think the key message is here is that if you bunch up everything at the last minute, your stress level as well as your ability to absorb and create the solution at the last minute reduces. So better to create three different solutions potentially in the time available, and also use the same method of creative frenzy in between, and maybe build. So this actually I have tried in many of my writings, and I am finding this to be more so-called, I mean, so much interesting. In my case, what I do, this creative frenzy, suppose I have to write a paper for, or write some deliverable for, say, 3 months down the line, and I have time today to do that. So I plan that somewhere next every month, I'm going to write the full paper and then maybe deliver or do the next one, next version, next version. So the first one, when we write, how do we get the feedback? Now, this is where we need to talk to the people, or maybe have some sort of a network of like-minded people, or people who are writing themselves, or the writers themselves. Maybe send it to them, send it to your so-called core group of writers that you have, or your well-wishers, if you may, people who will read and give you some feedback. So very interestingly, a lot of people have given very interesting feedback to me, at least whenever I've sent to people anything that I've written. And this has helped me to do this so-called writing, our so-called, instead of last minute writing, we actually have the paper ready upfront, and also with feedback, I keep on improving also. Luckily, interestingly, what happens here is, since you have submitted to some people and you're waiting for your response, you actually can interleave and completely switch off from that subject and actually work on something else, because in your mind you have written it, you have given it to someone for the feedback, and you are working on it subconsciously, not very you're not worried about it. So, okay. So this part I think is a interesting so-called way to look at, in my opinion. So maybe writing this way can be a, so the resolution possibility is to try the last one if you can. However, 1 page a day type of thing till supposing you have 30 days to write a 30-page paper, maybe that also is fine, right? That's this proposal B. 1 page a day, you're going to write 1500 words or maybe 2000 words a day, and edit it at the last minute also. Last day can be a sort of a strategy. So I don't know whether exactly we have answered the question yesterday's question, but some sort of a view is there. Okay. So now let us look at this, the second part of our discussion, which is the today's two papers that we received. This one is what is called the write-up that we received from one of the participants. So I'm just going to read this first para so that you get a sense of what sort of writing it is. First of all, the handwriting is great, excellent, and there is a flow in this, and that means the mind was totally writing in a continuous manner. So I'm just going to read this. I hope I am not going to make any mistake in the reading. Hopefully, it is very clear and nice handwriting. So it is sustainable living, living more thoughtfully. Having a father who believed in zero waste, sustainable living, being thrifty in an eco-friendly way, had a profound influence on me. So this is a very clear sort of an input from the mind, because there is a lineage of the father who has given certain inputs, and subconscious is influenced by that experience, right? So this gets captured here very nicely. And this, I think, is an interesting perspective, because if this is the case, then what to do ahead, right? So it's very interesting for the reader also to go through this this type of thinking. So I have since practiced ethical, sustainable lifestyle. I walk or cycle as far as possible. Uh, Use minimum chemicals in the house. Try to bring in as few packaged food products as possible. Travel by car only if there is no other alternative. Otherwise, use public transport. Uh, I make do with minimal shopping. Avoid branded as far as possible. I grow vegetables, etc., in the backyard and make uh, out of organic waste from kitchen. Okay. So maybe I think it's fertilizer. Then the next, living frugally helps reduce household environmental footprint. It has been a part of Indian culture too. We must I think, consider adopting lifestyles that attempt to, I think, induce an individual and society use of natural resources. It is a super critical survival obligation now. Okay, I have been working alongside some local NGOs in MP, UP to promote eco-friendly living and help at simple basis changes in their lifestyles, minimizing the I think use of chemicals and plastics. These are the ways, easy ways that can be imitated, put to practice by all of us, but is still a far-fetched goal. Of course, there is a second page also, but this is some sort of a writing which is very flowing, very clear in terms of what is there. And also there is an emotional connect from the first line that we have seen. So I think this sort of captures your uh, inherent thinking that this is what we should be doing. But at our level, we are doing, at my level, I'm doing, at some community level, I'm doing, but this is what I want to do. So I think this is a very nice, maybe some sort of a life goal or which can become. Now here, we maybe will, after the session discussion, we will request the person who has written to speak if they want to speak about this. But the message here is it's one of the instance of what is called the reflective writing. Now, what is reflection? So I'll just give some brief about this way of writing and this type of writing, so to say, because this is essentially our life, right? I mean, how we want to live, how we are living, so to say. So it's a reflective writing. So the meaning of reflection is some sort of a image, right? Mirror image, reflection in a mirror, right? Or maybe if the other connotation is some sort of a deeper thinking about. So metaphorically, you can use different type of mirrors to write such reflections, right? You can have a bathroom mirror, you can have full-length mirror, wing mirror, magnifying glass, telescope, microscope, or even shop windows when you are moving in any place. Maybe you see some images, right, as your image also. So this way, metaphorically, if you use this as a sort of a metaphor to reflect about your experiences, about what you are doing, what are the goals, maybe this can be an interesting way to articulate your writing, so to say. This is basically what we call the reflective writing. And I would say that reflective writing, all of us should do whatever we are, whatever our job is, whatever we are. Reflective writing actually is the best or the most interesting and important activity. And that is what we were stressing yesterday on when we write, all of us anyway write, but I think this type of writing is where you will connect more with yourself and slowly you will evolve towards more so-called joyous living, if you may, because yesterday we sort of gave this hypothesis that writing will help you heal also and also reduce your stress. So if you write such type of reflections in your daily writing schedule, it will be a very specific type of a lifestyle that will emerge. Okay, so this I think is a very definitely good input for us to follow, and specifically the content itself, the eco-friendly or the frugal living, is a very nice message from the author. So maybe after the session, we'll request if they are available to give some inputs on this. A second write-up that we got is more of an idea for an invention, which is more to do with type of ideas that should become more manifested as an invention. And since it will be invention, so you need to protect it in some form or get certain rights on it. And one of the best way to protect your ideas, and if it's a technical idea, and if it's a technical solution to a problem, and if it is what can be called inventive, and also new in the world, uh, then potentially you can get a patent right on that. So that's a legal right that you can get on on your idea if it is inventive and also a technical solution to problem. Of course, this is a very nice input from a very old philosophy. Nothing is more inventive than nature. Okay, so this is of course nature invents in a particular way. However, I think the most interesting inventor of the previous era, besides Thomas Alva Edison, if you may, uh, of course, they were in some sort of conflict, Tesla and Edison. So Nikola Tesla, the inventor of alternating current, he says, I do not think there is any thrill that can go through the human heart like that felt by the inventor as he sees some creation of the brain unfolding to success. So I think this is where the joy of writing gets manifested if the joy of inventing also is combined with that joy, right? So that is where I think the second idea is more about uh, actually using this writing to put your thoughts on an idea which potentially can be an invention is what the second idea is. I am not very sure exactly the second word in this, but it is auto enclosure or something, relaxation therapy by stress level monitoring. So I'm going to read this and give you a flavor of what happens next in this and how do we develop this into what will be the next stages of this writing, and so that we potentially can get to a patent application to be sent to a patent office where they will evaluate it. And of course, if it is novel, if it is inventive, there are certain tests that will be performed by the patent office, which you can do online and you can do beforehand also on your ideas. Only thing is you need to have the description and the clarity of that invention very uh, nicely, easily written for anyone to understand. Now, at this point, it's a raw idea that we have. But interestingly, all those 5 questions that we asked, that 150 words template, luckily the inventor has given all the 5 questions, answers to all 5. Of course, whether they are enough or whether we want to build on this is the next step that we will evaluate. But look at the actual patent, for example, will be something like this, right? So this is the US patent. So this has an abstract and it has also a lot of information about this. So how do we really convert this 150 words to a patent application, which will become a uh, a, uh, a patent granted after a particular period of time, right? Is where we work. So I'll just explain a little bit about what happens there and give you a sort of a flavor of what is this journey and how it is going to happen. First, so there are, after this initial idea abstract that we receive, right, we are going to sort of expand this initial idea into what is called, what are the key concepts there in this, what are the preliminary concepts that are there. So here we will actually look at very specific questions about what is the context and the scope in which this can work, what is the specific way in which is the how part about how this idea is going to be, how that particular function that is being asked will be looked at or will be actually implemented in the specific way. So that we need to include in our description and make a new concept, and then we are going to evaluate whether it's new or not. So to do that, we'll evaluate whether that particular written description it has been described, the specific elements of that has been described in the previous documents or previous literature or previous inventions which are known or available in the prior art, they call it. And that is going to give us some sort of input in terms of where are the key differences with respect to what is existing and what is proposed here. Now, in that context, we can use these differences to see can we maximize or enhance those differences and also maybe add a newer type of functionality to the idea, to the system that is being proposed, so that it becomes more stronger. When I say more stronger, the difference between the previous and what is existing versus what is being proposed will be much more, right? So much more in much more different dimensions also. Then it will become when we describe what is called a whole system and also the specific methods that will be used to orchestrate the specific functions that we are talking about, it will become a detailed invention disclosure, which will go to a patent attorney who will look at it and look at the prior art and also use this difference to actually see what are the bounds of your invention, the new information that you have, what is the specific uh, inventiveness in that, that particular portion only will be included in the what is called the claims part. Now, I'll just share with you the structure of a patent application so that you get a sense of what we are looking at from that 150 words to reaching to a patent application seems to be a far-fetched type of a journey, right? Sorry. But this is where that initial spark that you have written will become a patent, can become a patent application, is what we are proposing here. And that is where the power of writing that 150 words idea comes. I think you can become a owner of or the holder of a patent if you use this process and also develop this further towards this sort of a journey, right? So the structure of a patent application, it has an abstract, it has specifications, complete specifications, and also there can be a version of this which is provisional specification, which is basically saying that I have this idea, but I do not right now have the specific limits or the claims on which I would like to own the invention. Now, if that is the case, you can file a provisional application. Within a year, you have to file a complete specification in the patent office. So that is more of a legal process. I'm not getting into detail into that, but looking at what it will include, right? The complete specification. There are two parts of that. There's the description of the invention, and the second is the statement of claims. And that is the interesting part. The statement of claims become the real inventive part of your idea. So the 150 words idea that we have on this stress reduction using certain sensors or certain EEG type of mechanism and wearing this as a hood is what is been proposed. So that, of course, there may be certain details which we have to work on, but that's the initial idea. Now, this initial idea will just read, right? What is the idea? It is a headgear that will capture the stress level, and as it goes beyond the acceptable level, it produces soothing sounds that calms the brain and release stress. Some music maybe, or some chosen music maybe. So you can predefine, right, something. How it is different from what is existing? So the author says existing devices only monitor and display the EEG signals. Hence, the proposed system provides solution that is automatic. So you can actually choose predefined the music selected or the sounds that you want to hear, or it can be a pure something else also. Some maybe a maybe your child's voice or something like that, right? Something else that you can include, right? In what way it is better? So that so there are, of course, the 150 words are there, but interestingly, we have the idea, the some sort of a structure of the idea here in this 150 words, which potentially can become a specific claim as we develop towards a patent application. Now, what is a claim? I'll just show you what is claimed is a method of doing something, something, something. So you can actually see some elements of that method here right now in this 150 words also that inventor has given, right? So this should become something like a claim somewhere. But to reach to this level, we need to really see what sort of existing applications, existing patents, existing systems are existing. So we need to find out the so-called existing art search or prior art search to estimate where is the novelty in this. What is the novelty in this? Because legally we will get a grant of a patent only if it is novel, the technical solution to the problem, and secondly, if it is also having an inventive step, so to say, right? So there are two types of claims that we have to write. Independent claim is the main claim, and then there are subsequent claims which will be dependent on the independent claims, and this can be some sort of a further descriptions, further features of that which can be added. So as you see that just the initial idea that has been given potentially can develop into this, but you need to go. This is a sort of a journey to move towards invention disclosure, right? Okay. Now, what happens? The complexity of that claim can expand. So this is, for example, one particular type of a patent which has 24 claims. Now you can see there are 4 independent claims and so many, about 20 dependent claims on this, right? So this sort of a structure is there. So when I say claim, each claim will be written something like this, right? So this is these are the claims for the specific one. So now these claims are very specific type of writing from the invention disclosure that you have given, and these claims need to be very objective and typically written by a patent attorney, also based on the inputs that the inventor is going to provide. The problem is the inventor would have written something like this. Now the claim has to be a very different type of a writing, and I'll just read this claim. For example, a method for reporting a failure in an application program module to a file system in a corporate environment. The method comprising the steps of determining a location of failure in the application program module within the corporate, using the location to generate a file tree, examining the file tree. If not, then adding the file tree to the file system, wherein the file system further comprises the destination server. So this actually explains a particular process or a method, so to say. Now, actually, this is the claim for the Microsoft. Uh, when Microsoft gets into, say, Microsoft Office gets a failure, you get a sort of a message saying that, shall we send this failure report to the server, to the Microsoft? And you typically say no, right? And this is actually the same claim for that particular type of a process. On failure, some sort of a report gets generated and goes to the server at the corporate. So interestingly, this is of course quite an old patent, 2003, I think, is the patent that we actually looked at. Right? Yeah, 2004. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that from the, just to see that initial idea that we got, right, that 150 words is going to become a patent for different type of uh, um, potential geographies, right? This is a so-called PCT application, which will lead to potentially more type of patents, specifically when it goes to a national phase, they call it. But this, of course, is for a whiteboard marker, which is slightly twisted, and it can actually maximize the number of, but maximize the amount of ink that can be held. Because if in a whiteboard marker, typically you will find that ink becomes dry because the way the structure is, right? So these guys have proposed that maybe we have some sort of a circular type of a structure for this, and that itself becomes a patent application. Okay. Now, what I want to sort of give you is this different type of claims that structures that will be there. So the writing that we had from what we started with, just a small piece, 150 words, is going to become something like this. So in the reflective writing type of thing that we discussed, it is more personal, more of a healing type of thing. Here, that initial idea needs to become an invention disclosure. Therefore, it goes through the complex of various type of complexities. And you understand each of these claims that we're talking about here. For example, in this case, it is I think for a chemistry oriented patent, right? So it has various different claims. The structure of the claim, the dependent and independent claim structure itself is pretty complex, as you can see, right? So the whole point is, as the journey starts from that initial idea, it can become a very nice process to reach to this. But we need to write the first 150 words to make this a complex patent, so to say, a complex document. That will be true for most of the writings that we will have in our professional life also. There will be certain stages that we'll have, but the initial spark or initial writing, whether you do the reflective writing or the idea generation, will be the initial templates that we can use. Now, just to Hello.
ಇಲ್ಲಿ 5 ನಿಮಿಷ ಚೂ ಮಾತಾಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಾ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲದಕ್ಕೂ ಸಮಯ ತಗೊಳುತ್ತಪ್ಪ ನೀನು ಹೋಗ್ತೀಯ ಹಂಗೆ 9 o'clock ಆಗುತ್ತೆ.
Hello. Okay. Okay. So just to continue. So we just discussed the two different type of writings. Specifically, one was the invention, the initial 150 words can become a patent, so to say. And first one was the reflective writing about our feelings, our way in which we write. They can potentially become an article for you, or even a book, or in fact a lifelong initiative for you to sort of as a passion for you to move. So any of these things can come from you, your mind, which if you haven't articulated those 150 words or the initial 500 words that you've written, would have remain in your mind, in your subconscious, that you would have been thinking maybe what to do with that sort of thought, right? So capturing these thoughts, putting it on paper, doing this initial writing itself is a process that we discussed yesterday. Now, I would recommend our what we are calling the Write Life Journal. It is sort of a pun combining write and RIGST, WRITE, and this is what we are going to launch next year in January. In fact, writing down for 20 minutes a day for 4 days in a row can measurably improve your mood. If 20 minutes sound too much, maybe 5 minutes, 2 minutes. This is where this particular journal that we are talking about will have multiple type of templates and input for you to use. So we call it the craft by write life, write your life creatively, so to say. But each page will provide you a different type of tools, techniques, triggers that we have experimented with various type of scenarios for writing research papers, writing patentable applications, or even reflecting journal articles for magazines, or even writing about your diary or this, right? So this we call the Write Life Journal, which will be launching in, I think, end of December. But this will be available, and this you can get this as a sort of a regular feature. We are also planning that this can become maybe some sort of a model where you can actually say that these are the templates that I actually need, and we can deliver that. So that's sort of a plan. But I just want to say, okay, these are different templates. We already have about 50, 60 different templates of these papers, just like what you use, that 150 words in our Crafty Idea Journal weekly that we send. These are different type of so for example, here you see this picture. It is actually saying that you do the funny captions here as an exercise for this particular image that is there. Okay, so these are different types. For example, this is the goal setting canvas. You can set your goals and see how those goals are going. So this is what we are planning to launch. But anyway, I would request you to join our Telegram group that we have created, as it is called the Joy of Writing Only. And I think here I would like to sort of close this. And once again, thank you, everyone. What I request is that if we have time and if you are willing, we can have more of a discussion and questions than what we had yesterday. And once again, thank you to IEEE Mysore Sub Section and all the organizers who participated in this. My request is that if you really want to learn more or contribute more in some way, connect, you can always connect to us on crafiti.com is by email, and the numbers are also there on WhatsApp or Telegram or any other channel that you want to use. We should be willing to participate. So I think this is what I think we wanted to share. Only thing is we got two write-ups from a couple of participants. Both I must thank for doing this. Of course, we would have been more happy if we have got more inputs, but at least 2 is not a bad number, specifically because they're two different ones, so to say. So at this point, I'd like to sort of stop, and maybe we can have more of a discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, any questions? Thank you, sir. Any questions from the audience? You can type your questions in the chat box, or you can directly ask as well.
I
think this
Rajesh.
question accept and appreciation. I think wonderful session yesterday and today. This is Anand Prakash. It is always pleasure to listen to Navneet in whatever format, in whatever platform. And I think here also, particularly this idea of, looking at the team. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Anand. I think maybe Anand Prakash, for the audience, he is the president of Indian Quality Association, and of course, a very old and good friend of mine, and we know from each other. But I think what he's doing in Indian Quality Association, I think is a very nice initiative, and maybe we can collaborate in some form. Thank you, Anand, for the words, and also we always look forward to working together.
Yeah, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thank you, Anand sir, for the feedback. It's definitely encouraging.
There's a question. Sir, can you suggest some tips to overcome the first fear of expression in the form of writing?
Yes, I think that's exactly the yesterday's exercises that I think that the so-called fear is also part of why we procrastinate, we delay writing. So that is exactly what I'm saying. The 6 minutes write that I proposed here today, and also yesterday's those two exercises that we talked about. Just write the first line in any way, whatever you have to write, and use a pencil, pen, and a paper to start writing. So your fear should go away as you start writing in any language. So don't worry about the language. And that is where the reflective journal, I think, reflection as a part of your writing exercise should be a starting point. But yes, there is a fear, and also there is also some sort of a thinking that this is more of a elitist type of a work. So since I'm not going to be a writer, so why should we use this? But this, as we said yesterday and today, this is a skill that is human invented. And also, I think humans need to use it for our well-being and also development. So the fear needs to go by doing. So there was one very good saying, I forgot exactly who said that, but I think this is very apt for our purpose. It says the death of fear is if you do the thing that you fear, the death of fear is certain. If you do the thing that you fear, the death of fear is certain. So maybe the best way to be not afraid is to start writing in any way, in whatever way. So these 150 words that you have here, I think it's a 150 words template, and very different templates can help. But even if you don't have a template, you can create your own template for writing in any. So I think the death of the fear is certain if you do the thing that you fear. Should be the best way to work.
I think that's a very important statement, Navneet. I just want to share with the audience my own experience on this dimension. Maybe it will helpful. Uh, See, till last year, August 2021, for 40 long years, I had never written in Hindi and I had written a poetry. But somehow, maybe either COVID side effect or whatever, it just came to me that I can also write, because some of my colleagues, I heard them and they were writing very good poetry. And then I said, oh, I can write. So there were fears like I cannot write. There's a fear that I'll get rejected. There's a fear that what will people think? But since August 2020, now I have written around 50 poems. And yesterday the word which you used, joy of writing, maybe I did not use that word, but now since yesterday I'm seeing that yes, I do get joy of writing. When I write it, after that the kind of a sense of satisfaction and sense of achievement is absolutely wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. So the word joy of writing, I really like that, joy of writing. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand. I think I read your poems, and they are also a joy to hear, and also very nice poems that you write. Maybe since 15, maybe 15 more, and you can have a book published. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any more questions from the audience?
Yeah, ma'am, I have a question. Can I ask?
Yeah,
Sure, ma'am.
Sir, when it comes to writing and speaking, both of them are the flow of thoughts, maybe expressed in different forms. But I have noticed people who are voracious speaker will not be able to write or pen down a single sentence, and vice versa also. People are very good at writing will be bad speakers. Why is it? If it is the flow of thoughts, why is it they are not able to express in any of these forms? No, I don't know how right I am, but this is what I added. I really raised it.
Yeah, actually, you're absolutely right. In fact, the speaking is maybe more older type of a uh, skill that humans have learned, right? Writing came much later. And of course, the flow of thoughts, evolution has taught us to speak more and more with more people. And also, language started as a signal of communication, right? All these signals and voices. So, obviously, we are more people who are interested in speaking or who are more capable of speaking. So, all of us do speak. But writing seems to be a little bit a recent skill compared to speaking. But having said that, there are differences in which as you rightly pointed out. So why the people who speak so good cannot write, or the vice versa, is not about inherent deficiency in the flow of thought, so to say, in my opinion, but it is more about whether they have put that effort to learn those skills of speaking. Even speaking also, I remember a very specific point, I think in 1995, when DRDO was headed by Professor Dr. Arunachalam. He was the head that time. And he was a very good speaker, excellent speaker actually. Before Dr. Kalam, Arunachalam was I think V.S. Arunachalam was our head for DRDO. He gave a talk for about half an hour. And in the talk, he said, just to speak for this 30 minutes and saying that it's a mesmerizing speech that he gave. But he said, just to speak for half an hour, I need to prepare for 4 hours. And that is the level of preparation that I need to put in to do this speech. So it looks as if there is no effort or it is effortless. But everywhere this preparation phase is there. So you need to really collect your thoughts, structure your thoughts, and put it into some sort of a way where the communication flows. So I think that point somehow stays with me, whether it is writing or whether it is speaking in a structured scenario. I think both will require some sort of a effort to develop this particular skill and also structure that. But having said that, yes, there are certain specific interests and also specific capabilities that each one of us is more attuned to. As I think Howard Gardner talks about this multiple intelligences theory. Of course, whether it is exactly right or not, this is a separate point. But there seems to be multiple intelligences that in which we operate. So it is not exactly an even or uniform skill to have a writing skill and speaking skill, but both, in my opinion, can be sort of developed. So in the writing skill is more essential for our internal well-being also is what we are proposing, specifically writing by hand or on paper. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the very wonderful explanation. And anyhow, it was an impeccable session. Thank you, Bindu ma'am, for such a wonderful session. I will be looking forward to attend many such. Thank you. Thank you so much. The
Thank you.
entire team has put a lot of efforts. Thank you so much. I'm grateful to this. Thank you.
Thank you for the feedback, Dr. Ropu. Yeah, anyone there to add some more feedbacks or clarify your queries? Feel free, because this is a very, you can say a closed room discussion. So you can share your heart out here. Okay, so sir, we would like to understand from you, is there anything that you want to leave for the audience?
Yes, so I suggested that people can join our group, Joy of Writing. Also, these two presentations, yesterday and today, I'm going to share with Dr. Bindu, and maybe I don't know how to let everyone get these sessions. And also the Crafitti Idea Journal already we have shared. We also will be launching our Write Journal, which is more of a yearly type of thing, and also by mid of December, I think, is the plan. So if you are interested, you maybe connect with us on the email or on WhatsApp or Telegram. We will share that also. Okay.
Actually, today we have
join
shared
our Telegram group. I think that is what I would say. Joy of Writing, we have a Telegram group. You can join us.
Yes, sir. The link for the Telegram group is shared to all the registered participants. Also, the
Okay.
PDF was shared today with another mail. So we will look forward for the people to register on the Telegram group.
Okay, I would like to
also we will share.
thank both the people, both the participants who have given the write-ups, and if anyone wants to explain that also in the separate email, or anyone wants to share their writings, they can separately send also. That is not an issue. We will try to sort of look at it and do some sort of justification if you want.
Thank you, sir. This is indeed a very good opportunity for most people out here. Such an eminent person taking out time to review the writings and give feedback means it's commendable for us. Thank you. Yeah, Maina, over to you.
Yeah. Shall I request all of you to switch on your video so that we can have a photograph? I request all the participants to start your video. We should have a photograph together.
The good part about this workshop is we had people register Pan India. I'm sure they will all listen to the recordings if they couldn't make it, and also come back with their feedbacks and join the group as well.
I think yesterday we had more people, but today I think slightly less.
No, actually we had 30, sir. Today also we had. I think since the session got over, people have dropped down.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful session. Hope our listeners have benefited as well. Thank you again for answering the questions so patiently and so aptly. As we come to the end of today's session, I request Dr. Bindu Thomas to propose vote of thanks.
So once again, good evening. I'm really happy that we joined together in this, very, very useful. I'm very happy that we all joined here for this useful workshop. I must say, on the virtual platform, this has been one of its kind, where we had, instructor led, and we had the opportunity to learn every single aspect of writing. And I'm definitely sure, as sir pointed out, many of us are really shy to express our writing skills, though we definitely have great oratory skills, because most of us as teachers, we do have that developed over the years. But when it comes to writing, it is definitely challenging. So with this inputs that we have got through the workshop, and especially from an expert like you, I'm sure some of us will definitely plunge into the very skill of writing, and may be able to come back like how Anand Prakash sir, he inspired us, and he says that he could make it. So we need to have that free time and make space for ourselves, and ensure that we also pen down our expressions in words. And yeah, now that you are available for us at to give this such feedback, even though when you give feedback, whether it is wrong or right, but you're so motivating, so that means people can still go ahead and try and attempt. So again, I encourage all of you to join the group, and also I want to encourage you to also take that journal and put down your ideas. And naturally, as sir mentioned, we never know that one fine day we may come up with a patentable idea. So looking forward, sir, for further collaboration, and really making the best use of such eminent resourceful person that you are, which I think is one of its opportunity that we as teachers, and I'm sure people, I think students, researchers, also other community, like from the industry, are here. At least some representation is there, and so I'm really glad we could make it on this 2-day workshop. So once again, I thank our panelists, Dr. Shiva Reddy sir, who took out time to collaborate and support us in this event. Also, Professor Anandi ma'am, the chair of WIE, and the members of WIE who were present with us to encourage this kind of an initiative. And Nevertheless, I thank the host yesterday, Devyani, and today Professor Maina for carrying forward the master's ceremony in a beautiful manner. I thank each one of you for being present here as participants and engaging in the Q&A and making the best use of this particular Joy of Writing workshop. And we will definitely take this forward. So I don't have words to thank you, and I only look forward to collaborate and learn from you. And I encourage the participants to feel free and make use of this opportunity and come up with the best you could. Thank you once again.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the nice words. Looking forward.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Bindu. Thank you all once again. Have a nice day.